Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Phil. I'm a neuroimmunology PhD student and I'm documenting my experiences in building new income sources and hopefully a small business soon here on this channel. Usually when one is new to a field, like the field of business or investing, it can be really difficult to choose which sources are worth spending your valuable attention time on, mostly because most content outlets have the conflict of interest to present you content that is supposed to hook you rather than to educate and teach valuable things. Therefore, in this video, I want to share with you all the different newsletters, podcasts, books and audiobooks, YouTube and Twitter channels I read or listen to on a regular basis to give you somewhere to start or to inspire you with new things to enlarge your information bubble. We should all strive for to get out more often. If you'd like to get daily recommendations of great content I find, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I've also put timestamps in the description with different content media, so if you want to know specifically who is the king of newsletters, which podcast I find most inspiring and which one most useful, and which YouTube channel helps boost your productivity or increase your mindfulness. To help me recall what content I actually consume in a week, I tracked everything I read or listened to in a day for 2 weeks. So the first thing I actually read on a Monday or any day basically is the Morning Brew newsletter around lunchtime. As I will show you in my how to do to-dos video, I keep my mail inbox notoriously empty, which is why I'm careful which newsletters I subscribe to. Nevertheless, I really like the concept of newsletters. I think they are the best way to stay on top of the daily news. They are a very time-efficient way to learn what's happening in the world without wasting too much time and being able to skip over pieces that don't interest you, and they are scheduled so it feels a bit like you get them delivered right to your doorstep. And I always look forward to that. I don't watch cable television and really avoid the mainstream media coverage because it can get aggressive and negative real quick. I really enjoy their casual and humorous way of writing, and they mostly cover business, finance and tech related news in a very concise manner, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Plus it's free and it is delivered Monday through Sunday. Usually I follow some links in these newsletters to read more about it in newspaper articles, like on Monday, how Asia forms the world's biggest trade bloc, a China-backed group excluding the US, on CNBC, or why the Ant IPO has slim chance of getting done next year on Bloomberg, or this article in the New York Times. Can Shopify compete with Amazon without becoming Amazon? Once per week on Tuesdays, one of Anthony Pompliano's investor letters makes it to the inbox of us non-paying readers looking for curated news from the world of cryptocurrencies and disruptive technologies. Also follow him on Twitter and YouTube, really authentic guy who has a lot of insights what is emerging from this fascinating world. Sometimes I read Tim Ferriss' newsletter, who is the author of the 4-Hour Workweek, which is one of the most important books I've read so far, but I will cover that in a separate video. It often links very well selected articles like this one, The Glorious Almost Disconnected Boredom of My Walk in Japan by Craig Mott. One quote from this article: "My phone ceased to be a teleportation machine and became instead a context machine." Another newsletter that I read almost every day is the Nature Briefing to stay up to date of what is new in science. This week I followed a very interesting article called "It Will Change Everything. DeepMind's AI Makes Gigantic Leap in Solving Protein Structures," which is absolutely mind-blowing what they have achieved. Or last week, this article from the New Yorker on how the coronavirus hacks the immune system. On Tuesday night, I delivered food for a Vietnamese restaurant, which I started doing during the pandemic to have more money to invest into the crashing markets. So I had time to catch up on some podcasts, or in general when I'm doing tasks that don't require my full attention. Usually I try to be very selective how much time I spend listening to podcasts because I'm already struggling to manage my time. One of the most important podcasts, though, to learn about how to build a business is the Smart Passive Income podcast with Pat Flynn. You get the opportunity to learn techniques from the very best in business, like how to build a great story around your brand with Donald Miller in episode 393. Recently, Ali Abdaal tweeted about attending Malcolm Gladwell's masterclass about storytelling. It's a really important part of your business. or episode 430 with Jacques Hopkins, which I also shared on Twitter. That was extremely helpful as well. He started 6 unsuccessful passive income ventures while working as an electrical engineer before finding the right niche: online piano lessons as piano in 21 days. He quit his job and gave it all he has, still made only 1K per month, forcing him and his wife and children to live very frugally. But then just before reapplying for a job, he got to 20K per month and never went below that. Go check it out, that episode is awesome. Or how to develop a successful survey strategy using the Ask method developed by Ryan Levesque. All these strategies are supposed to significantly increase how much money you earn from your business. Then the Tim Ferriss podcast is amazing as well. Last week he had Daniel Ek, who is the CEO of Spotify, and their conversation was super interesting. It went from how he made Spotify the #1 biggest streaming platform to book recommendations around creative minds like the biography of Leonardo da Vinci and Picasso, and why sometimes constraints favor creativity. And then they talked about the cultural difference between Europe and the US in a business context, and what differentiates his style of running Spotify to Tobias Lütke, the CEO of Shopify, and so on. One that is both inspiring and highly educational is the Lex Fridman podcast. I love listening to this because it is often not immediately practical to my life, but always so stimulating. Each time it ends, I feel so inspired and so enthusiastic towards life. He talks to some of the most brilliant people from various scientific backgrounds, and Lex doesn't try to ask the smartest sounding questions, but he asks the most relevant ones that every one of us has. I listen to the Lex Fridman podcast about once per week. It's usually quite long, 1, 2, or even 3 hours. Here on Thursday, I listened to the latest one where he interviewed Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist at Stanford. Wonderful episode with such great insights into the neuroscience of fear and consciousness, deep work and optimal performance, and psychedelics. Immediately bought both books that they mentioned, Deep Work by Cal Newport and How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. As I already mentioned in my How to Have Great Ideas video, linked here, I like to switch between various disciplines to increase these serendipitous collisions that would normally not arise. I also listen to the Business Casual podcast by Morning Brew quite regularly. On Sundays, they send around an email that introduces a particular subject and then release 2 episodes interviewing 2 experts with often opposite views or coming from different perspectives. A couple of weeks ago, they did 2 episodes on the gaming industry, talking to the director of programming of Xbox Live and Ethan Kurzweil, a futurist and gaming expert, about how this industry is expected to grow from 175 billion to 257 billion by 2025, and how people have spent more time in Fortnite than human ancestry has existed on Earth, discussing this blending between social events and gaming. Or as ARK Invest describe it, a third place, a space outside the home and workplace or school where people gather and communities can build. Usually these cutting-edge scientists or inspiring entrepreneurs talking on these podcasts or successful YouTubers share books that they love and have inspired them. So in most cases, I will check out what they recommend, and more often than not, start reading these books. Usually I read around half an hour in the morning and at night, and as I will show you in another video, I switched from my beloved physical books to this Kindle, which, as I'm happy to observe, dramatically increased my reading time. Last week I finished a book that was also recommended on the Lex Fridman podcast, which is called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain, written by Lisa Barrett, which is a neuroscience related book. And a couple of weeks ago I finished Anything You Want and Show Your Work, which are both about building your business. Just this week I started to read the biography of Leonardo da Vinci and Atomic Habits, which I've been meaning to read for a while, and Ali Abdaal and Thomas Frank recommended it on their YouTube channels as well. I watch YouTube videos scattered randomly throughout the day. For example, here, My Journey to 1 Million Subscribers by Ali Abdaal, who was a doctor, now full-time YouTube podcast, and online course creator who does great videos on productivity. And on Sundays, he sends around a newsletter, which is great too, including some thoughts, life lessons, interesting articles, and quotes that he discovered on the internet that week. Or this one, I quit social media for 30 days, my journey in time travel. By Nathaniel Drew, which was an inspiring and uplifting video. I don't watch his channel so often, but it's always great content from a storytelling and cinematographic point of view. Same for Matt D'Avella, also sharing great insights around minimalism and habit building. And then from a stock market point of view, I watch Jim Cramer's Mad Money about once a week, mostly for entertainment though. And Lunch Money by Anthony Pompliano and his wife Polina Maranova. They discuss business and economics related news in a funny and cute manner, which I also listen to like 1 to 2 times per week. And now let's move on to Twitter. However, I actually try to limit the time that I spend here to around 15 minutes per day, so nothing too spectacular here. I enjoy Raoul Pal, who is the CEO of Real Vision, for his macroeconomic tweets. After starting my first online business, I started following Tobias Lütke, the founder and CEO of Shopify, for his tweets and retweets around small businesses and the Shopify platform itself, and Chamath Palihapitiya for his comments around the state of the economy and company analysis and SPAC acquisitions. And that was about it. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It always helps a lot. Thank you for listening and see you next time.